Welcome to Memory Matters for All Ages. I'm Janelle Nichols from the Gables of Hudson Assisted Living Residence. We want to welcome back with us Catherine Kilpatrick, speech language pathologist with over 40 years experience. She is a specialist in Alzheimer's disease and dementia. She works with home health, with personal clients, and also with caregivers. I know that's a great part of your heart is the caregivers. She also walked that journey personally with her own mother. Kathy, welcome back.
Thanks.
All right.
Difficult
holidays,
conversations.
Yes, difficult conversations. And some of those come up at the holidays.
Oh.
We dread them. We put them off. We hem and haw. We're awkward. Help us. Help us. We can't ignore this stuff.
Oh my goodness. You know, and you're right. I did walk this with journey with my mom, and boy, I learned a lot.
I bet you had a few
really
difficult conversations there.
It was an interesting thing, and I have some dear friends that are going through some things now, and actually sent them all the handouts from one of my programs that I do on difficult conversations, so everybody could get on the same page, because it is very, you know, it's a challenge, and you know, when it's so personal, it's like, where do you go from here? So yeah.
It is very personal, and it also comes from not just caring, but when it's someone that you love more than anything in the world, and you're worried to death. Why is it so hard to talk to the one that you care about the most? That should be the easiest. Why is that the toughest? I don't understand, but walk us through this. Help us, give us some insight today.
And I want your, you know, we'll kind of bounce back and forth on these, because we're doing a little different format. I have, I think, like 8 facts that I want to try and help, you know, people with, because I think if you have some of the premises of that, then you can kind of figure out how to negotiate. Because when I went to visit my mom, I remember one Christmas I went home with the intention of trying to have her accept moving from an apartment to an assisted living. And so I planted the seeds and all that, and she did actually agree to. Then another time I did it with the driving, and that same thing happened, and I got very lucky, but I also was walking my talk. And so I want to share some of this, and it doesn't always work. It's
no fair. You're a professional. I'm just me. It's no fair. You had a definite advantage. You had an advantage. Help those of us.
No, you're an only child. I wasn't.
I know. I am.
Okay, we won't go there.
All right. Throw out the facts, and we'll chat about it.
Okay. First of all, you got to plant the seeds. You know, you don't just come in and say, we're going to talk about moving today, and your living will, and whatever. I mean, you just kind of talk, and the time to talk about it, I mean, if my son was around, he probably, up here, he probably should be having those conversations with me, you know, and finding out what it is that I want. I mean, I'm thinking about it and kind of waiting till I move to get everything kind of put together. But you also have to do your homework. Like, what are the resources? So I was saying to my friends, you got to find out what resources are in the area where your mom lives. So
I'll tell you on that point, at the assisted livings that I have worked at, oftentimes people will come in, a couple, husband and wife, and it'll be their day off, and they'll basically say, we're just gathering information. And I think, although I'm disappointed that it's not a hot, you know, prospect to move in, I always tell them it's very wise of them, because then if there is an event or there is a crisis, now they know what's in their area, they know prices, they know costs, they've done some legwork already. So that's a very important point.
Very much so. And when I would go out to see my mom, what we would do is, I was there visiting, and it was Christmas, and so I'd bring it up, and then I'd go away, and then I'd come back. So it was kind of a, you know, well, let's kind of weave this into the whole thing. And so the more we can do, I had a client last year, was really interesting. They looked at some facilities thinking, and this person was doing fine, but was getting older and was a little more frail. And then something happened a month later, and they were able to then go to the one that they had already looked at because they had. So that's really neat. So that's the first thing. Don't just come in out of the blue. I've heard this a long time ago, and the 11th commandment is, "Thou shalt not parent thy parents." And I just think that's so wise. I have heard some Many people say, okay, now it's time to parent, you know, be the parent for my parent. And how would that make you feel? You know, we have to respect and honor them.
That's right.
And we may need to take over and make some decisions, but, you know, it's about how we show up and the tone and the body language. So I can see one family member coming in and saying, you know, I'm really concerned about this, and, you know, I want to help you and I want to support you in this, whereas someone else is saying, you know, it's time to give up those car keys and move, and, you know, you're just older. And so think about how you're approaching it. I always love that phrase someone gave me many years ago: go to the balcony and watch what you're doing, how you're bringing things to the plate.
Well, your parents are still your parents,
That's
no matter
right.
what your age or what
That's
their
right.
age. So there
or their
is,
cognitive ability. I
that's
mean,
exactly
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So there is still that respect.
Well, you know,
Sure.
you know, you don't want to be treated like a 2-year-old.
No, I don't want to be
And
treated
I will hear
that
people
way.
say that, and that's not going to promote good discussions. You know, that's very important.
Right.
Okay, and we've talked about this this whole month. The most important thing is to listen,
Sure.
to be present, no distractions. Listen with your heart. Rachel Naomi Raymond talks about the organ of vision is your heart. You know, my head's working with all the solutions, but when it comes to the presentation, I take that information and from my heart try and give some suggestions to someone. And then, you know, as you start having meetings with other family members, remember everybody brings a different agenda and a personality and history, and meetings will not please everyone, as well know.
Absolutely. Well, I have dealt with a lot of families, and every family has their own personality, and every family has that one. I don't know if you want to call them the black sheep of the family, or the one that is possibly has a completely different view than everybody else. So everybody has their own viewpoint. And that's a very good point that you brought up, that everybody approaches this from their own agenda or their own viewpoint. Now, what about someone, if you're dealing with a family member with vision or hearing difficulties? Doesn't that present something completely, a whole different scenario in this conversation?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, you know, older adults, whether they have dementia or not, or have more significant dementia, if you're not slowing down and speaking to them and verifying the information, and you're just all talking around a table, they're going to start to feel left out. And how do any of us feel when that happens?
Right.
We kind of shut down and we don't show up with our best behavior.
Right.
I know one gentleman said, you know, these conversations, everybody's talking so fast that I don't know what they're saying, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So if we can show that we're honoring them with that, we show a level of caring. And if we're caring about your hearing or your vision in conversation, then we're showing that we are caring about the bigger picture.
Right. So be aware of that and remind yourself of that often, that there have to be some changes, or there's a different way of doing this to respect that person, so that they can hear and understand.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, number 5, leave old hurts and issues at the door. Or a minor problem can turn into a major problem, and it becomes all about your dynamics and not helping your loved one.
Kind of like mom always liked you best.
And here's another point too, is that parents should not be, at this point in their life, subjected to having these dynamics take place in front of them while trying to look for a better solution for them. I could talk for hours on this, but
so could I. So could I. We could give story after story.
Yeah, but I think, and all we're trying to do today is give you some ideas. And if you go to my website, and I have some elder care link blogs, and it's about, there's blogs and articles on this. I mean, this is just a mini overview, but if you're going in for the holidays and then a question comes up in a conversation, what you want to try and do is remember some of these things, because, you know, when you kind of get hit up one side the head with family dynamics, it's like, oh, this would have been good information to know. And it was interesting because my friend had passed this along to her other siblings, and she said, boy, this really helped us to have a better understanding before we go and have this conversation happen with mom, because your tendency is, okay, let's get everybody together and go down and we're going to solve this situation, and then here's the older adult going like, what hit me? And again, depending on the level of dementia that's going on, and then they've got their personality too. And
Sure.
if I had $1 for every time someone's told me my mom or my dad or my grandparent is totally opinionated, is going to do it their way, and they're stubborn and they won't listen to anything anybody says. And I mean, that's a useful piece of information to have, because you've got to really modify your approach in those areas and see what you can do from there. So.
Absolutely. Now, I love this next point. I just think this is a key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Tell us what it is.
Try to offer choices.
Right. I love that.
And if you're proactive and you listen to our program on the driving or the medications or the moving,
finances,
then
and all that,
of that, that if you start talking about it early, gee, would you like to go to this place or do that? Or do you think that we should move you from this apartment on this side of town because you probably are, your vision's failing, so in the next couple of years you're probably not going to drive. Why don't we move you over here so that you can have this transportation available, or you're closer to Aunt Sally or whatever? But they want to make choices, and that was the coolest thing about my mom.
Yeah.
In planting those seeds. And when she gave up her car keys, she said, "It is my choice."
See, that's perfect. You made her part of the decision making. She didn't feel that you had taken over her life. Her life, she still had some control. I just love that.
And to be able to say it,
I just
even
love
if,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Even when someone comes into the assisted living with their family and they're looking to possibly move in, even if they're not the ones that are going to make the choice, I always address myself to the senior when I'm talking, not the children.
So right.
I look at the senior and I address myself as if it is completely their choice.
Right.
So I just love number 6.
I'm going to do these last two.
Yeah, how about number
7? Oh my goodness, we're going to run out of time here.
We're okay. We're doing all right. Yeah, give us 7 and 8.
Okay, well, and then we've got some other things, but we've got just a few minutes. So, okay, you may need to have the discussion without the older adult first, so that you can, kind of get your plan together, and make sure that you stick to your point rather than having, you're talking about the driving or you're talking about the home and not all this other stuff. And then I think the most important thing is to realize, and I give this advice all the time, you have a relationship with your loved one that's very different from another family member, and you need to honor that maybe they don't want to come and visit as often, or they can't help with that, or they're not able to visit. I remember my sister-in-law's siblings couldn't go and visit their mom who had severe Alzheimer's disease unless my sister-in-law, who knew how to relate, and it was very, very hard on her, but they needed her there for them to be able to do that. And then focus on the fact that it's your journey. I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Those are excellent tips. Very quickly, remember to watch the program completely till the end, and on the last screen you'll see Kathy's website and her blog information. You can get more information about what we're talking about today. You can also contact us. Next week we're going to do a little mailbag, Memory Matters mailbag. Say that 3 times fast. But Kathy, give us our charge for this week.
Okay. The holidays are here. Lighten up. Enjoy memories. Create them. Change it up so that you can have things that you come from your heart, because it's an interesting journey. It's not easy, but there are many gifts if you can come down to their level. And remember that, with travel, there's just a whole lot of craziness going on, which can be very challenging for anybody, never mind someone with a hearing loss, a vision loss, speech loss, memory difficulties, cognitive deficits. And I got a long quote here, and I'm going to read this one. Okay.
All right.
Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. Leo Biscaglia.
That is beautiful. I love that. Something small that can change your life.
And
I love it.
Such an opportunity to do that over this holiday season when you're spending
Absolutely.
time with loved ones.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
I
Janelle.
also like, you're very welcome. Thank you, Kathy. And I also like where you said just lighten up for the holidays. Enjoy. Enjoy. I hope you are enjoying your holiday season. We'll be here next week. Thank you for joining us. Now go and make it a great day.